Yo, what is up, guys? It is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, back again today with another fantasy football video. Today's video is my Overlay Fantasy DFS picks, OverlayDFS.com picks. I'm going to go through all the picks for this week. Now, before I get into the video, I'd like to give you guys a word from Overlay DFS. Play that now. Are you tired of having to pick the perfect player at every single position in order to win on salary cap DFS? Are you tired of having your salary cap lineup out of the running to win that money in the first 5 minutes of the games? Does playing salary cap DFS feel like a job and not even a game? Want a fantasy game where pros with 150 lineups and computer generated programs can't dominate? OverlayDFS.com has a new revolutionary start sit game for fantasy sports. They're the home of the single entry GPP. How do you play? Like I said, it's a simple start sit format. You make 12 start sit decisions from the 30 plus matchups presented, like you can see on my screen right now for week 6. A win, loss, or tie will be awarded to your overall record for each decision you make. Records in the top 10% of users win 9 times your buy-in. 12-0 records win GTD progressive bonus. All matchups are player versus player who will have the most total fantasy points. Usually 8-4 records are good enough to get that cash. Sometimes 7-5, other times 9-3, depending on the week. You make 12 picks in the matchups options listed. For example, for week 6, it could be Pat Mahomes versus Deshaun Watson, Baker Mayfield versus Andy Dalton, Dalvin Cook versus Alvin Kamara, and many, many more. The object is to stay consistent and finish in the top 10% of the field to win 9 times your buy-in until the stars align and you go that beautiful 12-0. Right now, if you go a perfect 12-0 in the $109 game, you'll win the progressive bonus of over $26,000. They have buy-ins at all levels. If no one hits the perfect 12-0 record of the progressive bonus, keeps growing and growing and growing until it gets hit. It's like the super contest, but for DFS. Don't get shut out. Visit www.overdefs.com today. And we are back. Time to make all these picks. So like I said in the I'm going to be making 12 picks here. Going to try to get that big money here. It's $22 entry. We're going to try to win that $180 for making the top 10%, but we can even make that $6,000 if we go that perfect 12-0. So we're going to try to do that today. Right here, we're going to go with Mr. Gardner Minshew over Teddy Bridgewater. I'm very confident that Teddy Bridgewater is not going to have a big game this week like we saw last week. I'm going to go with Goff over Jimmy Garoppolo because it seems like the San Francisco 49ers are going to try to run the ball. Now, I do like Jimmy Garoppolo as a stream this week in real fantasy, but I don't think Jared Goff will be able to be defeated by Jimmy Garoppolo in this head-to-head type situation here. Now we'll scroll down. We're going to go with Julio. A lot of people believe Julio will be the #1 wide receiver this week, and I think he'll be in for a pretty good game as well. We're going to go with Mr. Lamar Jackson over Russell Wilson. They're both in ideal matchups this week, but I just think the Cincinnati defense is so terrible that Lamar Jackson will easily be able to have his way with that defense. Now, here is the curious case of a guy playing against a terrible defense and a guy playing against a good defense. So we'll go with the guy playing against the terrible defense here, Mark Ingram over Mr. Nicholas Chubb. Now we're going to keep scrolling down here to try to find a matchup that I really like. Now, I do not love a lot of these picks here because I feel like a fool every time I make the wrong decision on some of these. I'm going to go Chark over Sutton. I really like Chark. A lot of people are worried about his matchup this week against the corner. I'm not worried at all. I am very confident in Mr. DJ Chark. I'm going to go with Terry McLaurin. Scary Terry up against the Miami Dolphins defense. That is god awful. I want to go with Larry Fitz here going up against the Atlanta Falcons instead of Emmanuel Sanders against the Tennessee defense. Larry Fitzgerald is so consistent every single week in fantasy football. I think Larry Fitz is in for the better game than Emmanuel Sanders this week. As we keep scrolling down, we see a bunch of other matchups here. Now, this is one to just think about in real fantasy here. Mark Andrews versus Will Dissly. That one's going to be very, very close. Let's see how many picks we need to make left. We still got a bunch to go. I do like Mr. Baker Mayfield to outperform Andy Dalton here. Even though I don't love either of these guys, I can just see Baker Mayfield bouncing back after a god awful game. We're going to go with Mr. Chris Carson against Cleveland here because I think that Chris Carson is a lot safer than Leonard Fournette. Leonard Fournette obviously does get a lot of rushes, but I think at the end of the day, Leonard Fournette is Chris Carson is just going to outperform. Now over here we have Cooper Kupp versus Travis Kelsey, and Travis Kelsey has not been performing up to really my liking or anyone else's liking. So I think Cooper Kupp's in for a pretty big game as well. He's always in for a pretty good game. I'm gonna go with Robert Woods over. Oh nope, you can't select more than two players on the same team because I'm dumb and I always accidentally do that. And I'm gonna go with Kittle over Zach Ertz. And now we have to get our three alternate picks in case someone gets hurt or any wonky stuff happens. So I'm gonna go Boyd over Mixon. No, I'm gonna go Mixon over Boyd just due to the fact that they have such a good. The Baltimore Ravens have such a bad rush defense in comparison to their pass defense. Let's scroll down more. I want to go with Burrito over Jordan Howard. I don't like playing Jordan Howard, and I like Kenyon Drake over Miles Sanders. Kenyon Drake is in for an actually good game. Probably the one actual week you can use him in fantasy football. So I'm going to go through all of my picks here. We got Gardner Minshew versus Teddy Roosevelt, Jared Goff over Jimmy Garoppolo, Julio over DeAndre Hopkins, Lamar Jackson over Russell Wilson, Mark Ingram over Nick Chubb, DJ Chalk over uh, oh my gosh, Cortland Sutton is his name. I just completely had a brain fat there. Terry McLaurin over Mr. Michael Gallup. Larry Fitz over Emmanuel Sanders. Baker over Dalton. Chris Carson over Leonard Fournette. Cooper Kupp over Travis Kelsey. George Kittle over Mr. Zach Ertz. And then our alternates are Joe Mixon over Tyler Boyd. Matt Breida over Jordan Howard. And Kenyon Drake over Miles Sanders. So I'm going to enter the lineup here. You guys can tell I clearly do actually enter the lineups in here. This is not, no, I'm not just making it up and then not paying for it. So thank you guys all for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Check out OverlayDFS.com. Come play with me. We're going to have a great time this week. We're going to have a great time every single week over here on Overlay. Make sure to click that subscribe button down below. Live stream coming up soon. Goodbye, guys.